The great thing right now about Lucasfilm as a company is that ever since Jon and Dave received numerous promotions by Bob Chapek, the previous Disney CEO, and even Bob Iger, the current one, they've been getting a lot of new privileges over at the company, really being able to take control both financially and creatively about the Star Wars franchise when it comes to the shows, the movies, and a whole lot more on the horizon as well. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been very much ecstatic over and very excited about has a lot to do with, of course, the future of the Star Wars franchise when it comes to how Legends material is going to make its way into the current Disney canon and exactly how it's all going to coexist. Now, we know that Jon and Dave are building towards something very much big in the cinematic sense because they are going to be involved with the development of upcoming movies. We're going to be tapping into all of this in just a second. And, of course, not just that, but they are also creating a lot of changes within the structure of the lore that actually happens in the sequel trilogy movies themselves. And that brings us to, of course, the overall structure of post-Return of the Jedi content and what's really coming out of all of this. Now, given that we have other creators getting hired by Jon and Dave, thankfully, they know who to pick, they know exactly who's passionate and who's not passionate about the franchise. Peyton Reed is one of the big directors that is becoming a part of the Mandoverse. Since he did such an excellent job directing Mando Season 2's finale, he's going to be involved with a lot of upcoming stuff as well. Now, with that being said, what's really exciting about all of this is that with many new Star Wars Legends stories becoming canon from Jon and Dave, they are also preparing to unveil many announcements by this April for the fans. Now, it's noted that currently Favreau and Filoni are fully engaged in the development of a new sequel trilogy that is currently happening behind closed doors, and Lucasfilm and Disney are very reluctant on making an official announcement until 2024. Jon and Dave are said to have a master plan and are building a dream team that they will create a full-fledged mixture of movies taking inspiration from Heir to the Empire, the new Jedi Order books, along with Shadows of the Empire, combined all together. One big story focus by them is to create a big plot element involving both Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade, and having Thrawn as the new big bad in the upcoming new movies. Actress Karen Gillan has been approached to play Mara Jade in both Mando 4, Ahsoka Season 2, and now these 3 new Mandalorian movies that are going to be considered a continuation of the Skywalker saga. Now let me stop right here for a second. We've talked about this before a couple of times, and how this new sequel trilogy is basically going to be Disney's Hail Mary, their way of getting another sequel trilogy into the theaters and giving fans a second chance, at least when it comes to post-Return of the Jedi material going into the theaters. Alright? Now, the thing about this is that they are aiming to make it very high budget, so what you see in the shows with Ahsoka, Din Djarin, Grogu, you name it, it's all going to look better with a high budget and also, of course, on the big screen without a doubt. Now, the fact that they are building towards this is exactly why they are creating all these shows, Jon and Dave, when it comes to introducing characters like Ahsoka, Luke, again, Thrawn, Sabine, Ezra, all these fan-favorite characters. It's all a build-up toward these Mandalorian movies that they are actually in the early stages of working on right now, and how that's really going to be used as a way to bring Star Wars back to the theaters based on what they are slowly building up on Disney+. I think that this is a great marketing move. I think it's fantastic. Because I think that Jon and Dave are fully aware that it's going to be at least a couple of years until theaters are going to become more attractive to audience members again. Sure, we've had a couple of hits like Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick, and Avatar: The Way of Water. But when you look at other, movies out there that should have succeeded in the theaters, they didn't really do quite as well. So it's really a whole hit and miss scenario right now, whereas in the near future, it may very well be back to normal, depending on where everything goes. So, This is a very good strategy, the fact that they're using the Mandoverse to boost familiarity of these characters and to get fans very familiar with characters like Ahsoka and others, and to use them in this upcoming Mandalorian trilogy that's basically, yes, going to be a continuation of the Skywalker saga as well. It's not just going to be about Din Djarin and Grogu anymore. Moving on. On top of this, alright, the aim of the new sequel trilogy is to base it sometime after the events of the Mandalorian series as a whole by jumping ahead a couple of years, giving fans a slightly older version of Luke than the ones fans see in Book of Boba. Now, the shows, of course, by John and Dave are about Luke's journey to becoming a true Jedi Master. Meanwhile, their goal for the new films is to have a fully established version of Luke at a young age as a Master, with his Jedi Temple all built up with a handful of new students both on Yavin 4 and on Ossus. Many notes have already been created by John and Dave for this new trilogy. Now, let me stop right here for a second. Now, we already talked about how they are going to be establishing in the canon that Luke will have 2 Jedi temples in the upcoming lore, so keep that in mind. We're going to have the one that we see in the Book of Boba Fett and the Last Jedi flashbacks, and we're also going to have one on Yavin 4, just like how it was in Star Wars Legends. So that's also another great thing. We're having a lot of the true iterations of Luke from Legends coming to life, and you can see that John and Dave are really just giving it their all, putting all of their time and energy into this, and really just giving fans the spirit of Star Wars and what it's meant to be. So the other thing that I do want to go over here real quick is that the fact that they are building towards this relationship between Mara Jade and Luke starting off as a rivalry and eventually forming into a love interest together, and then, of course, it can go from there. Now, we're not quite sure how accurate they are gonna do the storyline between Luke and Mara Jade, but they are bringing Mara Jade into the equation of the Mandoverse and these planned Mandalorian movies that will be considered a new sequel trilogy. They're not necessarily going to be called episodes 7, 8, and 9. It's not like that, but this is Disney's way of calling it and treating it like a new sequel trilogy of films. It's all post-Return of the Jedi content. It's going to have a very high budget, very cinematic looking. In fact, they want to make this an even higher budget than the previous sequel trilogy movies if they can build up that familiarity large enough with the actual shows that are on Disney+. So that's their game plan. That's John and Dave's master plan and what they're ultimately trying to build towards. And you can see that they are really doing a great job already. I think that Mando Season 2 really kicked things off, and Mando 3 so far is looking very promising, and Ahsoka's going to really do a great number of things that the fans are going to be blown away about. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in on what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.